Now, since I discussed the end result of my first year of training, now we're going to be discussing about what I could have changed or what I could have done, during that first year of training that could have resulted in a better outcome, which could have helped me out to gain even more muscle. Most people who enter a gym in the first year don't have a level of confidence that you would have as more experienced lifters. Usually when you come in a gym, you tend to not be confident and you tend to be less curious when it comes to things. But that's what kills progress. Not being curious enough. You want to be curious. That's another key word, curiosity. That's gonna really get you somewhere too. So, go with the list here. I wish I took creatine sooner. So I started taking creatine in my second year of lifting, and the results were fascinating. They were pretty cool. Like I felt a little stronger. I felt a little more energetic, but I wouldn't say it would affected me as much as people would say it does. I would say it would give maybe like a little extra 5% in sessions. It give you that like last little rep that you tried to do. You'd probably be able to push it. It would just give me a little more energy. The muscles didn't look filled as people would market it to be. It's not a huge significant difference for me. It could be different for other people. Some people could react well to it. Some people could not feel anything out of it. So it depends on the individual. There's a lot of biochemistry that happens there. And so I wish I took it sooner because it's just the benefits of it. You have an increase in the muscle capacity. You have more water entering the muscle cells, which help you get stronger contractions in the gym. It just helps you out. It just you get energy out of it because it's an energy molecule in itself. Creatine is one of the most researched substances there is on the planet, and there's backed up evidence on it, there's backed up research on it, and most gym goers use creatine. And on my first year, I didn't know what creatine was. I just went to the gym and I just working out muscles. But there's more to doing, just working and doing. There's more to life than just muscles, right? There's food and nutrition and a whole bunch of other good things that you can put into your diet and supplementation that will get you to higher places and stuff. Not saying heaven, but maybe a bit of hell. Second dot I want to go through is I wish I read on nutrition. So at first I was eating, first year I was eating 3 meals a day. The nutrition was not the best. Sometimes I had Kraft dinner, sometimes I had like processed foods, mostly filled with protein, of course, but mostly semi-processed, semi good. I still had a background knowledge on it. I how processed foods are bad, and I knew of it, but I wish I knew more into how much food can give you energy. That's something that could have really helped me out my first year. And so reading on nutrition and paying attention to what I eat and during those meals, that will allow me to fuel my workouts better. So such things as electrolytes, a good amount of salt in the diet, that would fuel the pump, a good amount of water. So drinking at least a gallon a day at least, minimum, or just drinking a good amount of water, with your meals. Just the nutritional basics, that could allow you to fuel your workout better. Those things would really help you out. So I really wish I read on that. Let's see, what's another thing I could say? I would say like vitamins, minerals, like things that can help you and fuel your workouts. Reading up about which vitamins do what, reading up on what are omega-3s, reading up on inflammation, reading up on what food can do to your body that could cause inflammation, or having foods that could decrease inflammation. all these things that could help out your body directly, you know, when it comes to working out or recovery, you know. So nutrition on recovery, nutrition on working out, you know, things that can help you get the best out of your workout. And that's something I really should have done in the first year, but I didn't know because it was my, you know, first year in the gym. You know, like these things didn't really pop up in my head that much. You know, I wasn't a complete fanatic on it, and it wasn't something on my mind. But eventually, that came. So the third point is that I wish I could have trained harder. So training harder could mean increasing the number of sets I was doing, or increasing the time I was in the gym. It could also be just increasing the number of days I was in the gym for a week. You know, I was only at the gym for 3 days a week, when I could have been there maybe 5 days a week. I could have been there maybe 6 days a week. You know, 6 days is pushing it a little, but you know, I could have increased my frequency that I was in the gym, or my frequency of the weights I was lifting, or the weights of my weights that I was lifting as well. That could have boosted my muscle growth overall, but I wasn't that invested into it in the first year, because usually when you start out, you're not too invested into it, which is normal. You know, some people start out differently. You know, so it's okay to start out slow, you know, and there's no problem with that. You know, like for the following years, you kind of get into it, and you start to love it more and more. So there's no issue. You know, you can start anywhere. You know, you can start with a bit, you can start with a lot. Heck yeah, you know, you'll get to your place somewhere. You know, you'll find your goal. You'll find something that's gonna be like setting you straight in a path. You know, you're gonna say, I think I'm gonna go for that. You know, you're gonna see something, and you're gonna say, okay, that's good. You know, life happens. You have things going on, and not everyone's the same. So there's things that have priorities in life. So, and training wasn't a complete priority in my life, but it was a big part of my life, and I valued it, and over time I gave it more value, and that's where I am today. So the fourth point is, I wish I wasn't shy. So that's the thing, when you come in a gym, you're very shy, you're very anxious, you think a lot, and you do less. So thinking will get you nowhere. Doing will, well, actually, let me rephrase that. Thinking will get you to places, sure, you know, just, you know, researching and stuff like that, being intelligent and knowing the ifs and thens and buts and what to do in the gym. But action, of course, will grant you that thing you want in return. So what you want to do is, like, you want to come in the gym with confidence. You want to come in the gym with less thoughts and more doing. And you know, you want to test things out. You want to be curious, and that's how you're gonna like figure out what works for you in the gym. And so I wish I wasn't shy. Being shy is gonna limit you. It's gonna limit you to what you can do in the gym. And so, you know, like so being shy really limited my training, and that's why I went 3 times a week. I would have gone more, but I was shy to present myself in the gym, and that can be you know, detrimental to how much muscle you can gain. But hey, you know, we all have our steps to go through. You know, some people, hey, are less shy. They can go to the gym multiple times a week, and they say, hey, we're good. You know, first year they go to the gym, they're fine. You know, well, my first year, well, I was a little more shy, and there's no problem with that. You know, you build character. You know, that's what you do. You build yourself up. You build yourself up with, you know, bodybuilding, and you build your character up. That's just what it is. That's just what life is too. You know, that's what it is. You just level up, you keep doing good, you give it your best, you know, your best shot, and heck, you know, you're gonna get something in return. A solution for this would be having a training partner with you. A training partner is gonna really help you out. Okay, you get much less anxious. And I'll do a video where I'll give some tips on, you know, being anxious and coming in the gym and not being confident. I'll go over a video just to maybe help you guys out on some anxiety levels and stuff like that, and tips and tricks just to, you know, help you guys out. Just basics, you know, basic tips, you know. Just keep it simple. Just keeping it simple, of course. My fifth point was I wish I was eating more. I wish I was eating more because eating more will of course help me gain muscle and help me gain a little more fat, of course. But if I knew that I would gain a little more fat and more muscle, I would have done it. I would have ate more. But heck, I was relatively lean, so I did a good job. I did a somewhat good job. But eating more, eating more, I would say eating more protein to recover quicker, because most of my workouts it was really hard to recover due to having less protein than my body required, most likely. Because in that time I didn't know I had to take 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. In that time I didn't know those facts. You know, there's a lot of facts that the common gym knowledge knew that I didn't know during that first year of training. So there's a lot of things I didn't know too much. And so that leads on to the 6th point. Learn macro and micronutrients. And damn. Not sure if you guys can see, but the 6th point was all the way down here, so I had to bring down the camera. But it says learn macro and micronutrients. So, well, let me just fix this. So macro and micronutrients. So I wish I knew what micro and macronutrients were. You know, macronutrients being your carbs, your fats, your proteins, really important, and your fiber. You know, so that's part of the macros. You know, yeah, people talk about the 3, but they never talk about fiber and how it can actually improve your overall performance, and so you don't feel like shit when you go to the gym.